How's it going, guys? Today I want to talk about the claim that BGC is not the real Philippines. I gotta be honest, it drives me crazy every time I hear people say this. Let's talk about this today. But before we get into this, I've recently started a new Facebook group for California expats. If you haven't joined it already, check out the description below. Would love to see you there. So first, let's jump into why people say that BGC isn't the real Philippines. As far as I could tell, it's narrowed down to a few main reasons. First off is price. Everybody says that BGC is so much more expensive than the rest of the Philippines, and that's true if you're talking about small province areas. However, if you're comparing it to other cities, other parts of Manila, if you're comparing it to Cebu City, if you're comparing it to Davao City, listen, I've lived in these other places for years, and I can tell you that the prices are basically the same. I say basically because when I lived in Cebu City, my rent was higher per square meter than what I'm paying here in BGC, so it's not exactly right. Same thing in Davao City. It was a little bit higher where I was staying at Eon Towers per square meter compared to BGC, but enough to be called similar. Now, when it comes to food prices or Grab or other types of things that you spend money on, things are the same here. Now, yes, there are super high-end restaurants here that cost a lot, but I'm talking about going out and eating, going out grocery market shopping, and I'm talking about pretty nice comparable condos on the rent side of it. So this idea that BGC isn't the real Philippines just because it's more expensive here is simply not true. Now, next up, a lot of people seem to say that BGC isn't real Philippines because, well, I think because it looks nice. Is that the reasoning? I'm pretty sure. So this is also just a ridiculous thing to say. If you go to other parts of even Manila, like Alabang or Newport, on and on, there's gonna be lots of other areas that are very nice. If you go into housing tracts in Cebu or Davao, if you look at Iloilo, if you look at Bacolod, these places also are very nice when you look at the streets, when you look at the trees, when you look at how well things are planned out. Now, given not everywhere in the Philippines is super well planned out and super pretty looking, no doubt. But whatever country it is that you are in, whether it's in the Philippines or the US or anywhere else, there's also going to be parts of the country that are really nice, very well planned out, and other places that, well, aren't too attractive. So to say that BGC isn't the real Philippines just because it looks prettier than a lot of other places is also just ridiculous thinking. Now, I gotta really start to stretch my imagination about other reasons why people seem to claim that BGC isn't the real Philippines. Sometimes they'll say it's a Western bubble. I mean, what exactly does that mean? You know, is it the cost? We've already seen it's not that. Is it because things look a bit nicer? Well, there's other places in the Philippines that are pretty nice looking as well. Are they also not the real Philippines? So what's left? I think people feel that BGC is just swarming with foreigners, but in reality, it's just not. If you compare it to somewhere like Iloilo or Bacolod, when I was in those places, I didn't see too many foreigners there. But if you go to Cebu, if you go to Davao, there's every bit as many foreigners that are walking around there. Now, who is actually here in BGC? Well, overwhelmingly, of course, Filipinos. I don't see that many foreigners that are around here compared to other bigger cities in the Philippines. Everybody is sweet and kind and respectful, same as Filipinos are all over the country, so there's nothing much different about that. And I gotta say, before I moved to Manila, I would always hear that, you know, those Manila people just aren't the same, and things are very fast-paced over here. So people are on the move, doing what they gotta do, but when you talk to people over here, they're every bit as awesome as Filipinos anywhere else in the Philippines. So when it comes down to it, I really find that these claims that BGC isn't the real Philippines are just a little bit ludicrous. Now, I think the reverse side of this thinking is what is really troubling. Why do people really think that Philippines has to be poor, or there has to be enough tricycles driving around everywhere to make it legit Philippines? Why does there have to be enough street food off to the corner of the street to make it real Philippines? In the country where you live, is there street food everywhere? Does everything look uniform no matter what city you're in. Is every city exactly as prosperous or as clean as the others? Of course not. So why is it that people seem to insist that there needs to be a certain level of poverty around for it to be considered legit, real Philippines? I find that this is the most troubling for me. If you're someone that loves the Philippines, if you love Filipinos, then you should be cheering on areas that are growing, are positive, are vibrant, where the economy is growing, where new business are flocking, where thousands of jobs are out there for people. That is the great thing about hubs like here in BGC or Alabang or places in Quezon City or Ortigas or Cebu City or Davao City or on and on. The great thing about these areas is that they are helping the Philippines economy to grow, for Filipinos to get higher paid jobs. These are positive things, and I would far rather that people start to see that the Philippines is diverse. The Philippines is actually growing in more millionaires, not pesos millionaires, dollar millionaires, than just about anywhere in the world if you track what's going on over here over the last 10 years or so, and I'll do a video on this soon. Yes, the Philippines struggles with poverty. Yes, it's a developing country, but that doesn't mean that there aren't bright spots where you see what I hope to be the future of the Philippines, where things will be bright for a lot more Filipinos than there currently is. Is there still a very wide disparity in the Philippines between rich and poor? Of course, there is. Is there a growing middle class? Yes, I think there is as well. Are these problems unique to the Philippines? Of course not. Look at the economies of most other Western countries, and you're going to see very large disparities between rich and poor as well when you actually do the numbers. So listen, guys, I get that BGC isn't for everybody. Some people love province areas. Some people love beach areas. Some people love beautiful province cities like Iloilo or Bacolod, or like Cebu City or Davao City. There is something here for everybody in the Philippines, and all of it is real Philippine. Filipinos themselves created BGC, part of a really intentional effort. There's been a lot of other communities that have grown up in different areas of the Philippines since then that are well planned, that are well thought out, that have beautiful streets and all the rest. So for me, I know that I'm cheering on the Philippines, hoping to see more and more thought put into planned communities, to keeping trees there, to keeping the sidewalks a bit better. And if you are cheering for the Philippines as well, I would encourage you to rethink your thoughts about whether or not BGC is the real Philippines. As always, guys, I appreciate you taking the time to watch. Make sure and drop a comment below, and take care.